Welcome back here to advisory number 2. And today I'm going to ask you a question to start off. Wouldn't you love to have some tool, some hack, some trick that you could use to really help you ask for help? So that's my trick. That's what I want to give you today. But before we go to advisory number 2, I want to recap and look at the highlight film of what we've done together. So remember that when I met you, remember when I walked into the auditorium at Madison Junior School, and I was like shocked. Like I've never seen more energy, more enthusiasm, more passion from a school. I mean, you're incredible. I'll never forget it. And then when I got in there, I told you the most important thing I'm going to tell you. And remember what it was? Remember what it was? Well, maybe if you don't remember, you might raise your hand and say, Coach, I'm not sure I remember. Can you give me a little help or a little advice so I could remember that? And when you say that to me, I'm flattered by the fact that you want to know. I'm really happy that you asked that question. And I say to you, thank you for asking me a question, because great people like yourself ask good questions. And they become great people that ask for help. All right, so remember what I told you? E plus R equal O. The events in your life plus your response equal the outcome. Now, remember what we said? Most people say E equals O. The events equal the outcome. Oh, it's a rainy day. This means it's a bad day. It's a plane delay. That means the day is ruined. This is a rough teacher. That means it's a bad teacher. The events do not equal the outcome because you own your response to them. You get this choice, this incredible opportunity to do with it what you choose to do. It's in your hands. It's the response that counts. E plus R equal O. And that R will dictate the outcome. All right, first advisory, we talked about decision making. And remember what the key was in decision making? No, I don't remember, Coach. So I raise my hand and I say, can you give me a little help here on that? Or we'll talk about this little hack that we're going to talk about. Coach, could you give me a little advice on how I might be better at remembering these things? So we talked about the space, the Viktor Frankl space that's going to follow you for the rest of your life. And Viktor Frankl said there's a space between stimulus and response. Stimulus and response. And within that space holds our ability to choose our response. And in that choice holds our growth and freedom. So what he said, no matter what situation you're in, there's a choice on how you respond. And you own that choice. So as we talk about decision making, we want to utilize that space and not make so many knee-jerk or quick choices that are based on old habits or emotions or social compliance that we want to breathe. And then in that space, try to align our decisions to our first principles, to our values, and then make decisions that are based on those. And that's what good decision makers make, or how they do it. All right, let's get to advisory number 2. Today's advisory works on highlighting a skill that maybe is one of the most important skills that you ever learn. And just like shooting foul shots or jumping rope or reading poetry, like the more you do it, the better you get at it. It takes repetitions, but you got to get in the game. And that's that hack I'm going to give you today. And today's virtue or value or first principle is self-advocacy. Advocating for yourself. And as you and I both know, your greatest advocate has been your parents, probably. They're the ones who have set you up, who have put you into classes, who have maybe set up play dates, who have made sure you're on the right team or in the right program. They've been doing this for you. But all of a sudden, your parents aren't going to be there like when you're 21, or like when you go to college, or when you go out to go to work. And all of a sudden, you're going to have to be your own advocate or good at self-advocating. And what is it? It's basically rolling forward, standing up, and demanding your rights for the things that you have the right to have that support you in being able to allow you to do the things that you have the right to do. I mean, advocates are people who stand, they support, they defend, they argue in favor of a cause, a mission, or in this case, they battle for what they have the right for. So we just need to drop this stigma of asking for help. And I'd love to bring in my favorite book here, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, Charlie McKeskey. And one of my favorite pages of this book is a page where the boy is riding on top of the horse. And he leans over and says to the horse, "What's the bravest thing you've ever said?" asked the boy. The horse looked up and said, "Help." Help doesn't mean we've given up. Help means we refuse to give up. And as the great African proverb tells us beautifully, if we want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you truly want to go far in your life, do it with others. And ask them for their help and their support. Hey, I spent a lifetime on the diamond, on the football fields, on the basketball courts. I've spent a lifetime in weight training facilities. And in all those facilities, it's common nature. Coach, can you give me a spot? Coach, can you give me a little help on this lift? I mean, to become our best, we have to utilize other people and allow them into our world. So the great Adam Grant has given us this hack that we're going to practice today in advisory. And I love it. See if you like it. It's kind of a way of bridging in, easing in that help area. And he said, just replace the word help with advice. Because there's no greater compliment that you could give your grandma, that you could give your friend, that you could give your mom or dad or teacher or coach, other than asking for their advice. So maybe instead of asking for help, you reframe the ask and ask for their advice. Grandma, I'm having a little bit of trouble with some of my friends. I'm not really sure how to handle it. Could I get your advice on what you would do? Mr. Johnson, I'm having a little bit of trouble with the amount of playing time I'm having right now. And I really care about this team. Could you give me some advice on what I could do to try to upgrade my amount of time I'm playing? Asking for advice instead of help can be a really nice way to bridge into asking for support. And we're going to work on that today. All right, finally. So I've had the luxury of growing up and being with my son and daughter. And as I shared with you, my son and daughter, Jake and Allie, were in a car accident. And when Allie was 2, Jake was 4. And Allie was paralyzed from the chest down. And Jake, traumatic head injury. And I've watched her become an advocate. I've watched her in her wheelchair work her way through life and have to be forced to ask for help. And I've watched this beautiful symbiotic relationships happen when she asks people for help and they help her and she helps back. It's a beautiful thing to watch. And I've watched her have to advocate not only for herself, but for other people with disabilities. So sometimes when you raise your hand in a class, when it's confusing to you, it probably is confusing to a lot of other people. So when you stand up and have the right and say, look, I don't understand it, and I have the right to understand it, and I need help, you're really advocating for other people. Because the last part to self-advocacy, is having the courage to say, look, I need help here. I'm having trouble learning this. I can't seem to read this the way other people can. I don't go around the track running. I'm in a chair. So I need some accommodations here. And we have the right to do that, to stand up for what we believe in and what we have the right to do. So, in conclusion, self-advocacy, asking for and really demanding the rights that you deserve. And so today in Advisory, we're going to work on flipping help into advice. So I hope you have a great advisory, and thanks for being one of the greatest schools I've ever had a chance to work with.